Hello, good evening. Welcome everybody to the CG Pro webinar. Tonight we are going through Advanced Unreal for Filmmakers, and it's my great pleasure to introduce Scott Rosecrans, who's joining us. Scott is our lead instructor on our Unreal for Filmmakers Level 2 class. Scott is an amazing artist. He's been in computer graphics and visual effects for 15 plus years, and spent a lot of that at Zoic Studios, where he is the head of the real-time department and a virtual production supervisor. And Scott, welcome. Thanks for joining us. I know that you've worked on some awesome things prior to joining us as a teacher at Zoic. Lots of cool movies and TV shows, and from The Flash and Superman and Lois, Stargirl, and you guys are working actively on tons of cool things that you can or can't talk about for the big streamers and Amazon and Netflix and yeah, doing some amazing stuff. I personally worked at the studio a lot and loved it every time. So yeah, it's great to have you here, Scott.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate the introduction there. Been working with Zoic for a long time. Love it over there. We're doing a lot of great things. So, too many shows to name. Lots of great content, lots of great fun. But the real adventure the last 2 years has been, heading up, like you said, the real time department. So really enjoyed, diving right in, just getting, fresh new eyes and being creative again. It feels like a brand new artist, a brand new rebirth in terms of like working in CG. So happy to, be like not both feet in all the way underwater, completely in with the engine and completely like working day in, day out, and just integrating everything in about the engine in real time into our pipeline and creating content for shows, final pixels, virtual production, live action, you name it, we're doing all of it. And so and looking forward to sharing this knowledge. Like I said, we've got this course set up where we're talking about the the live action, the stage side of things, the virtual production, and then we just finished our first cohort of this course, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm really looking forward to the second session to really start to hone things in and you whittle down and get rid of make all the content as streamlined as it possibly could be. So I'm really looking forward to just sharing some of the information that we've garnered over the last few years about this cool new workflow.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, well, feel free to get going. I think that was a great intro. Obviously, we'll talk a little bit more about what we're up to at the end, but Scott's going to jump in and do some content, and I'll be in and out a little bit with assisting with some of that. But yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah,
all right.
Cool, totally. Yeah, I mean, and just to go on a little bit more, go ahead and if you want to share my screen, I'll minimize this window here. I did want to talk about the course just a little bit. I've got the syllabus up here, so just to get a sneak peek preview of the things that we're going to be talking about in that course, we're doing so we're doing some virtual art department stuff, some set design stuff. We go through Perforce, which will touch us. A lot of the stuff we're going to touch on tonight very quickly. We spend some time in the class talking about. So there's things like setting up levels, working with other artists and things, setting up Perforce, multi-user, VR scouting, and things like that. We go through a few weeks of animation and adding motion and characters to your scene. So we'll cover animation blueprints, state machines. We'll cover control rig and metahumans and live link, all of that good stuff. Any way you can make something move inside the engine, we'll talk about that, and then we'll build a scene throughout the first 5 weeks here that we'll then use to put into a live action scenario, be it a green screen or end display on an LED wall. So we'll talk about everything you need to do to get that scene first and foremost set up, and then we're going to optimize things and make sure it's running as well as it can to go to a live environment, be it green screen, be it end display, and then we'll talk about all the different things that you can do in a live stage environment, like being the color grading, remote controls, DMX, all that good stuff. So a lot of information to get you basically from having no scene at all to off the ground and running in virtual production. That's the point of the course, and so it's a lot of info, and but it is very fun and very cool. I enjoy every bit of it. So tonight we're going to touch on a little bit of these tangential things that we will dive deeper into the course. So we're going to talk a little bit about motion capture. We're going to take some motion capture out of Extends. We're going to go either directly into the engine or via Maya and take a little detour through Maya and then bring it into the engine. We're going to do some retargeting. We're going to put that onto a metahuman, and we're going to set up a stage where we've got a set with we're going to bring motion capture and green screen footage together and have those two types of characters. Both are going to be me, by the way. So I'm going to interact with myself inside of a setting inside the engine, and Ed and I will get together in a multi-user session and sort of scout out the area, find some good places for the actors to go. Again, put both me's in where they need to be, and then we'll go in if there's time. We'll get the VR headset on, and we'll scout some cameras and take some camera takes with that. So a lot to get to. So let's dive right in and just go for it. So yeah, first and foremost, I've got Extends up here, and let's take a look at some of the mocap that I recorded recently. So I have some raw takes here, and then I've got some that I've already reprocessed, and this is just for speed and time. So the idea here is I've got a scene here. We'll just take a look real quick. And some of you may recognize this if you've taken my course previously. This is a little garage that I've created quickly with an HDRI and some simple Megascan stuff. And so this is going to be our set and setting for our work here tonight. And so the idea that I came up with is that we've got these two robot characters here, this engine, this ship. I took a bunch of mocap of myself using the Extend suit, which is here behind me, of myself acting as a mechanic. So I'm going to be working on this ship, and then I'm going to be just moving in and around the ship. And I was able to do that just in my living room here within the space that I had. So we'll be working on the ship, and then I took some green screen footage in the garage of myself doing just some other goofy stuff, and so we'll put that in as well. So first and foremost, let's take a look at the motion capture. So we're in Extends here, and so this is just me walking around working on the ship, getting distracted, saying I'm going to go over here and look at the other side of the ship. Cool. So when you're ready to export this from Extends has a great reprocessor here. So you're going to go to the reprocess or batch reprocess. So when you load a take, it's going to start the action of reprocessing. This is why this is grayed out, because it's been reprocessing this in the background for me. But you can also send out a batch reprocess, and to do a whole bunch of them at the same time, it'll just run in the background there. So I'm going to open up the files that I've already reprocessed here. Let's go with take 5. Why not? And we're going to export this and send it over to the engine, right? So I've got take 5 here. This is already reprocessed, cleaned up. Extends does a great job of reprocessing data, cleaning up all those janky little curves and making it nice and smooth. Let's trail the camera there so we can see I'm working on the tire here. And I get up and walk around to the other side. I'm checking some of the engine stuff. There we go. Cool. So we're going to export this out, right? So just do a export file. We'll do an FBX export. You want to show the options there. There is an option in here to reprocess as you export. If you have an unreprocessed file, it takes a lot longer to export that. So that's why I've opened up the reprocessed one. And so I'll send it to the same one, and I'll just give it a CGP for CG Pro. Send it to that same folder and export. So it goes a lot faster because it doesn't have to reprocess all of that data. Cool. So you might notice here that I am working in MBN Animate Pro 2019. So for those of you, if anybody is able to work with or gets data from another vendor that is recording in 2020 or 2021, Extends recently changed their licensing structure. There's, there's a reason I've got 2019 here. We chose not to update our licensing because reasons, right? It is just easier for us to keep with what we've got here. The one of the things they did update though was the mannequin, right? So there's a new mannequin for the extends that works really well with Unreal. So they have actually got it on their site, and there's a link. We'll drop it into the chat here. There's this link here where you can go to grab a dummy actor for going into the engine, right? So if you go to that site, download the puppet there, that puppet will come right into here, and it will already have all of the bone mapping sort of set for it, right? So you've got a skeletal mesh for the Xsens puppet in here, and your motion capture will drop right into this. So this is great if you're working with the latest version of Xsens. It's got the fingers already on there, so if you have the Manus gloves, that'll come in and work right away. But a couple of things have changed, like the spine, the way they've named things here, the naming convention is a bit different from the 2019, and it has fingers, which the 2019 version doesn't. I'm with the 2019 version, so I've got a couple more hoops to jump through. So we're gonna in a second shoot over to Maya and take a look at what that looks like. But just wanted to let you know, if you're working with the latest and greatest, you can just jump right to the engine, bring this character in here, and you can import mocap to it directly, and then do all of your retargeting or whatever it is you're going to do from there. We don't have the luxury of that here tonight, so I'm going to then pop over to Maya, and we'll take a look at these different things. So where is... Here we go. So here is that same puppet I just showed you. It does come in as an FBX, so you can bring it into Maya as well. This is what it looks like in Maya. We're not going to be working with that tonight. What I did instead is when you export out motion capture, so this CGP work 05 I just created, I'm going to pull that in here directly. This FBX actually comes in as a bunch of locators, right? So this is not very helpful, right? We can't do much with this. This will not go directly into the engine. We have to kind of retarget this in Maya before we get into the engine, right? So what I did was I took this and I just kind of mapped out a whole bunch of bones to each of these locators here. You just snap them each to there, and then you create a bit of a hierarchy. The other thing you want to do is you want to rename those bones to match this, and you'll see this is the big change that they made that breaks from the 2019 to the newer versions of Xsens. There, you've got these L5, L3, T12. They kind of had these, anatomy-based naming conventions for their mocap stuff, right? So what I did is I went in and I created my own puppet. So we'll create a new scene here. Don't save, and then I'll bring in my puppet. So I created a puppet, and then because Unreal needs a skin to import a skeletal mesh, right? I just created a few spheres and popped them onto all the joints there and skinned them so that we now have a puppet that has a skinning, and it comes in as a skeletal mesh into the engine. And this is what I'm going to be dropping motion capture onto and retargeting and sending out FBXs out of Maya, right? So what I would then do would be to bring in my mocap onto here and then start to do a set of constraints, right? I would bring in these locators, bring in the FBX here. So I would have both my reference skeleton there that has the mocap on it. And I would go through, if you take a look at let's make these a little bit bigger so we can see them. All right, I would just select these one at a time and then grab my bones and just do a parent constraint. Go to rigging, constrain parent, and just go through that one by one by one by one all the way down so that I get a skeleton that moves with the mocap there, right? I've gone ahead and done that work, and I've saved it out as a retarget skeleton. So let's open that. So I've got my retarget skeleton, and I've got some motion on it already. I think this was take one. We're going to replace that. We're just going to drag take 5 into here, and it should update automatically. When you do this motion, that means it's magic. All right, so now, it looks like we got 2 of them going on there. No. Oh, I see why. because one of them, oh no, it brought them in the same. And this one just has a namespace in front of it. Ah, let's try that again. Pull in my retarget. Let's get rid of these namespaces. Wonder if it shows up in the namespace editor. No, it does not. So I'm just going to do a quick, where's my renamer? We'll do a search for the underscore in the front there, and I'll replace it to get rid of it. There we go. Now they're gone. This should fix that. So when I pull in my new mocap there, because they're named the same, it should replace the data with the newer one, which it did. Good. Just be careful of those namespaces, those pesky little namespaces if they pop up. Cool. So we've got that. And now I want to, well, let's go ahead and hide our locators, and we're going to export that out. So we first need to bake it. So I'm going to select all by hierarchy. Select all by type, excuse me, not hierarchy. Joints, we're going to select all the joints, and then we're going to edit keys, bake simulation. You want to make sure that you have below selected, and then the whole time slider. There we go. That should do it. We'll bake this out. We'll talk about the weather while we're waiting for that to run. It's been nice here in LA lately. A little chilly, a little sunny. So that'll bake out, and then we'll be able to export this out to the engine, and it should drop right into the skeleton that I've already imported. Sweet. Okay, so I will grab the, I want to grab the reference here, and I will just, actually, we'll need to bake that one too. Here, show none, and this should bake a little faster. Made a liar out of me. We'll minimize this. We don't need that anymore. So we need the top node, and then you need all the joints, but all those constraints don't need to go along, and the FBX will actually strip out the constraints as you export it out. It says they will not go with the FBX, which is what we want anyways, which is great. Okay, so now we can export our selection, and I will just put it here. Save that as export. Constraints failed. Good. I don't want the constraints anyways. All right. So let's see if we can get this into our into the engine here, right? So I've got my there's that. There's my 2019 version of this. So you can see I've got my skeletal mesh imported here. Has reference and all these L5s, L3s in there. So that's good. That's what we're looking for. So if I import my animation now, I'm actually going to go to my animation folder. I have one of these in here already. So we'll import. I'm going to look for the file we just created, and I'm going to map it to my 2019 skeleton. And then so this custom sample rate here, I used to tell people like, hey, just turn it up because it makes it import a lot faster. It actually, this is based off of, like you know, if it's 30 frames a second or whatever. Like we recorded this mocap at where did my XNs go? This is recorded at 240 hertz, right? Which is about 120 frames a second. So I'm actually going to set this to 120 because that sample rate will come in and we'll have those subframes, right? So if this got exported out at 120 frames per second, this should come in at 120 frames per second. So we'll have much smoother playback there. Much harder to manipulate, but we're not going in and doing that anyways. So let's import that, and it failed. And I bet it's that dang namespace. Those kids and their namespaces. Let's see. And reference, yes, so it does not contain the root track. Yeah, so I think it is that namespace. Let me just do this to double check. We'll pull open a new Maya. and we'll import this into the Maya to make sure that it is actually working and see what the names are. Outside of that, I'll just keep moving forward with the one that I have that I know that works. So let's pull this into here and take a look. Aha, so it was the, yes, it is not something wrong with the export. Okay. Or this just didn't finish loading all of the plugins yet. There we go. All right, we've got hand reference. Let's take a look. We got hand reference here. Let's go to the engine. Hand reference. It looks like everything should be working. Why dost thou smite me? Let me try that one more time, and we'll just reset our settings. Reset, and then we'll go to our 2019 skeleton. Let me make sure that's the right one, actually. Wow, a lot of skeletons in here. No. All right. Well, doesn't understand the root track. It's hand reference bone as root, but animation doesn't contain the root track. Does that mean I did not bake it properly? It's baked. Let's try this once more. I'm going to export selection, and then believe the preset has bake animation turned on. Sure. Oh, you know what? It could be that the same damn thing is that I've got this extra namespace. See the extra underscore there? It might be getting me again. So let me try this. We'll go and do it again. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, that's my fault. So let me try and export this one last time. We'll replace it. Sample rate 120. There we go. I did it. Again, mind your namespaces. All right. So we've got some animation going here. Perfect. That is great. And I'm just going to leave the T-pose in. I would usually go into Maya, clean that up, shift everything. We're just going to leave it for now. Do as I say, not as I do kind of thing. We only have so much time for this live stream. Right, so let's keep moving. We've got this here, and we need to get to our skeleton here, and we need to make sure that it is set up and ready to target. We've got this doesn't look that great. We want to retarget this to our metahuman, right? So we're going to put this on our metahuman, so we need to make sure that it is ready to be retargeted. Typically, you're not going to have, this is going to be cleared out, and it's not going to have anything in there, right? So you're going to want to come in and select humanoid rig. And this is going to be empty, so you're going to have to remap everything. I have gone through and I've created a remapper here. So my XN's 2019 bone mapping. So once you do this, make sure that you hit the save button to save your bone mapping out so you never have to do it again. Even if it means opening up an old project and migrating things in to make sure that you don't have to click these drop-down menus. It's mind-numbing. So yeah. Make sure you go through and you do that. And then this is in T-pose. That's what we're going to use. We're going to stick with this so we don't have to modify pose. So save it out. You're good to go. My skeleton was already set up, so I'm just going to leave it. I'm not going to necessarily save this. But that should be all you need to do. You may need to set your preview mesh. There are times where the preview mesh will not show. Just come down here, click the preview mesh, and it'll get a pop-up telling you that your preview mesh has been set temporarily. I think mine's already been set, which is why it's not doing it. And you'll want to apply to the asset. Okay. So let's pop out of there. Let's look at our metahuman now and get that prepped to take this animation. So we go to our metahumans, our scooter here. Let's pop scooter open. Scooter has a skeleton as well. I'm going to click on the body here and let's go to Scooter's skeleton. Scooter's got a much more complex skeleton because metahumans are awesome, but that means being more complex. What we'll want to do here is the same sort of deal. We'll need to go to Scooter's skeleton here by clicking on the skeleton. And we'll need to make sure he is also set to humanoid. The good thing about this, coming from Unreal and Bridge and things like that, this is already going to have the bone mapping set up as it needs to be. So you shouldn't have to change anything here. That's great. You just need to turn it on, right? Set this to humanoid. You can change your preview mesh to any of the other things. I'm just going to stick with the cargo pants here. It's fine. But you can swap out your skeletal mesh preview mesh to be anything else if you don't like just looking at the bones there. One other hot tip that I don't have the time to do in this stream here is all these curves over here. There's a lot of them. All of these curves are things that were from the MetaHuman creator to change the proportions of, like when you're moving those points around on the face and things like that. All these curves with the red X on them are dead weight, and they're just going to kind of slow down. It's not a big slowdown, but it's going to slow down your MetaHuman. You can delete every single one of these, and it'll take a little bit of time, but it'll speed up your MetaHuman animation process later on. So cool. So we need to now get this into the T-pose because the extends is in T-pose, and it's not going to accept the animation properly when we retarget it. So we'll need to start by going to the skeleton tree, and we'll start with, I'm going to start with upper arm here. Upper arm, lower arm, and hand, we will zero these out, right? And that'll get us close, but then we'll need to take our clavicle here and just sort of move it up into a T-pose right around 9 or 10 degrees. There should be enough to do it. And it looks like our elbow did not end up getting zeroed out. Must have missed that last button. There we go. The hand, again, 0, 0, 0. And then I think this will actually need to be the arm. Yeah, there's one of the, we want to take these to -90, 90, -90, maybe not, I hit 960, there we go. So you take your upper arm to -90 so that it's pointing down. No, that's not right, because these bones should be pointing forward and backwards like they are here. So forgive me. We're going to stick with what they were, and we're going to put that hand down -90. There we go. All right. I may eat my words here. I may have to come back and change that, but I swear this was what it was. All right, we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to zero these out. It's not liking my multiple selections here, so. I'm actually going to leave this hand. We'll see what happens. We're going to play a little bake off here. We're going to leave one of these hands at their default value, and the other one's going to stay -90. Okay, so we're going to get that T-pose going, and we can dial this in as much as you can. You can drop into front view, drop into side view, get this lined up as much as you can to match what you've got going on with your extends or wherever the mocap is coming from. But for speed, and I'm just going to kind of do the quick and dirty version, and there's a reason for that. It's okay. Like I'm not being super precise because I want to be able to go in and change the. I'm going to be changing the motion capture after the fact anyways, because the proportions are going to be slightly different, right? And we'll take a look at that when we retarget things. So for now, I'm just going to pull these in a little bit. It's not going to be perfect, but that's okay. All right, so I need to now set this pose, right? So we're going to hit modify pose and use current pose. Sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't stick. So what I like to do as a backup is that we can go and create asset, and we can create a pose asset from the current pose, and you're just going to save it. I'm going to save it where it belongs. We're in female for whatever reason. I think this is male, medium, normal weight, body, sure. But I'm going to call this T pose asset 01. All right, and we'll save that. And you'll see it reset itself there. So that did, we'll go back to the skeleton, hide pose, view pose. Okay, that should be working there. But just in case, instead of use current pose, I'm going to find that T pose. There it is, T pose asset. I'm going to use that one, and that'll sort of force it, right? We'll import that, and that'll force the issue. And you can see here as I turn that pose on, there we go. So save that. Save that. Whoop. I will check that out. We are working in Perforce here, Ed and I. So this is another thing. This is a whole lesson unto itself. We'll talk about that when we get to the class. But yeah, Perforce, it's good times. Love working with Perforce.
Everybody loves Perforce.
Everybody loves Perforce.
Everybody. You just fall in love with it immediately. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, no, it's great. I actually do love Perforce. Unironically, it will be you'll hate it at first, and it will become your best friend later in life. All right, so now let's go over to our retargeting. I think we're set. We're ready to go. Let's get rid of Scooter here. Let's go back to our animation. So we're in Extends Puppet Animation. There we go. We're going to take this and we're going to retarget anim assets. And we're going to look for our metahuman base skeleton that I have checked out here. I'm going to change the folder to where I want to save this to be the one that I am in. So characters, extends puppet animation. And I'm going to call this scooter underscore. And then we'll retarget that. And we'll see how this comes in. A couple things may be broken. That's okay. I'm used to breaking things. Then I go fix it. Hey, look at that. That looks like it's working, but we're only looking at a little bit of the skeleton here. I see pants, right? So I'm happy about that. Pants and the bones are moving. So let's take this into our blueprint now and see what it looks like with the whole kit and caboodle, right? Because there are some things that we're going to have to do with this to change it, right? So I'm going to pop over to metahumans here, and Scooter. We'll pop Scooter back open. And just to test this out, we'll go to the viewport. Let me pull Scooter out of his main dock window into the mini window here. I'm going to go to the body here. Instead of this, we use animation asset. We'll type in Scooter here. There we go. So there's Scooter doing his thing. All right. Scooter's a bit broad-chested. Let's fix that. Let's select that. Okay, so this looks like, for the most part, it's working. We've got some pops happening in the mocap there. It may be Euler versus Quaternion. That was one thing I forgot to mention, is that you want to make sure when you're exporting here that we check your export settings. There is where is it? There's one of these. It's either here or in the reprocessor, where in Extends, where you can set to make sure that you're keeping it Quaternion versus Euler for filtering, and that will make sure that it's optimized for the Unreal Engine. So keep an eye on that. But for now, let's fix my man Scooter here. So we'll go back to the body here, and I will just knock that out of there, and we will go to our animation. There we go. And let's take a look at our options here. So options, we're going to show retargeting options. So the first two we want to keep sort of as they are. But the spine and everything else, I'm going to recursively set this to be skeleton. So it grabs everything below spine 1, and then boop, they're going to be skeleton. So you'll see those shoulders immediately came sliding back in. So this is basically telling the retargeter, the animation to ignore the translation of those bones and just follow the rotation of the bones. This is sort of localizing it to make it, so that you're only getting the motion capture data that's important to that bone, which is the rotations, right? So you're keeping your same proportions. So we'll save this now. Okay, and I'm just going to check that I'm on. So I got the retargeting. We got this. retargeting. So I think it's time to bring our dude into the scene here. So we got Scooter. He's placed in a level that's not checked out. That's okay. Thank you for the warning there, Perforce. Right, so we've got Scooter in the level here. I can go to his details, and in here I can load that same animation, but I don't want to do that. What I'll do instead is we'll come back to our garage set here, and we'll just make a level sequence animation. I'm not going to name it. I'm just going to bring Scooter into here. I'll get rid of the control rigs. Don't need those for now. And thank you, control rig window, but we'll do away with you. So for the body here, we're going to add an animation track, and it's going to be Scooter work. There we go. So we can see Scooter doing his thing. Oh, and hey, let's see. Right now, you can see, I don't know where this guy goes to get his hair done, but he's doing a great job. He's looking great. I love what he's got going on here. I think I might actually grow a rat tail myself. Anyways, so we've got Scooter in here doing his thing. Let's add a little transform track so we can move him later on. So we'll grab transform there, and I will start to move him over here-ish. I don't know. We're gonna do some scouting later on, Ed and I. So here's another thing. Again, I don't want to go too crazy with it here today in this demo, but you can see those pesky metahumans with the LOD 1s and 0s that don't have LODs for the hair. The trick for that is if you come to the hair, if you click your metahuman, and in the components section here, you're going to want to find his hair, and you can scroll down to get to that groom. So you go to the groom asset here, and you'll see these LODs. We have 0 and 1 is going to be strands, and then everything else is cards. We don't have cards for this because this metahuman doesn't come with them. It warned us at the beginning. So what you would do is just X out all of these and get rid of those LODs so that you just don't have LODs set up for those. Because you don't have cards, it just switches to not being visible at all. So you would just nuke all of those LODs out of there so that you don't even have LODs anymore. You just got LOD 0 and LOD 1, and then the hair won't disappear on you anymore. I'm okay with it actually because I'm streaming, because I don't necessarily want to see all the hair all the time because it will start to slow things down. So it's fine. I'm going to live with it. But yeah, that's how you would fix the hair popping in and out of existence. All right. So I think that gets us to the point where we started in Extends. We got our motion capture data that I took in my living room through the process of getting it out of Maya and into the engine. We ran into a couple pitfalls. We fixed them. Ed, anything that I'm missing? Any questions? Anything we should talk about before moving on to the next stage? I'm taking that silence as a no. All right.
No, you're good. You're good.
Cool. So let's talk about the next part. So like we're going to do a little bit of green screen stuff, right? So I did not come from compositing, and I don't like composure. I'm sorry, I said it. It is great. It does the job. It does exactly what it says it would do. It gets a little funky for me, and it's one of those things where there's so many steps that you have to remember, and if you miss one, it's just you have to start over, right? So for me, it's great, but I prefer another route. So there is another route. Thankfully, there's another answer for us, and so we're gonna do a bit of shader building. We're gonna build a shader that we can pull keys on, and we're gonna do projections. We're gonna project the green screen footage onto a card, pull the key, and that's gonna be how we get our green screen footage in here, and we'll work with it like that. So let's move away from that. Actually, is it in here? No. Where do I have my media? There it is. So I've got two folders in here. They're empty here, but if I look at them on network, if I go to show and explore, you'll see I've got some green screen footage in here. These are all PNGs. I took just some GoPro stuff, and I put some masks on the side there to kind of mask out edges of the green screen, right? So I've got 2 takes, and so I keep these in my content folder even if I don't want them in my project. I don't want to see them necessarily, and it'll ask you, would you like to import these? Just hit no and just hit remember this answer, because you don't want those files necessarily in your, in your project. We want to now read them. So I'm going to create a media reader. There's a couple of options in here. We've got your file media source, which you would think these are files. I'm going to use a file media source, but no, this actually is for like QuickTimes and QTs and anything that's a media source, right? So image media source, that's actually what you're going to be using if you're going to be pulling in images, right? And so we'll just call this gs_footage. And so I will point this to my green screen folder here, and I'm going to do take 2. And open that, and you just click on the first file and it'll remember it, and then you hit save. And then, so that's that. And now we need to create a player for this. We need to create a new media player. And it's going to ask you, would you like to create a media texture asset? Yes, you do. Okay. So we create that new media player. I'm going to leave it at the default name. New media player textures coming in as well. Great. If you double click on this and you double click on your green screen footage, you should see it playing here. Great. This is just me being a dingus in my garage. I'm hiding. I'm telling someone to come over here and let's get out of here. I'm scared. Anyways, it doesn't matter what the content is. Your content will be better than mine, guaranteed. That's not the point. I'm showing you how to do it. You be creative. I'm just here to be technical. Okay, so we're going to get this now set to work with a new material to put on our card here that's being projected, right? So we're going to create a new material. Boop, 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 if I can remember how to do that. Materials, there we go. We're going to call this, let's say, GS Chroma Key 01, 901. 01, there we go. And so there's a couple things you need to do to treat this. And it's pretty simple to set up, actually. It's surprisingly simple to set up. But before we get started, with the actual shader building, we need to kind of set up our material, right? Our material is not going to be opaque. It's going to be translucent. So that's first and foremost, because we want to be able to pull a key on it, right? And it's going to be an unlit mode. So because we don't want it taking in the lighting from the scene. We will, have tools built integrated into the scene. We'll take a look at that in a bit. But for now, we need to have translucent material that is completely unlit. We will check on two-sided, so you can see it front and back, of course. And we will uncheck cast ray trace shadows, because I don't really want it to cast shadows necessarily. I mean, we can turn those back on if we need. If you want to have the, this is the good thing about this, is you can have, a projection card that generates shadows onto your set, further integrating it. And the other thing we want to check on is, I may need to check my notes on this, but I think I can remember it. Allow custom depth rights. There we go. Oh, and the other thing is render after Doff. You want to uncheck that. So allow custom depth rights is just if you go to render this out and you ever want to use a depth pass or whatever, that is useful for that. But rendering after Doff, if you're ever using depth of field and you see translucent, like sometimes you'll see windows that don't render properly. It looks like they're still sharp and they're not being accounted for in depth of field. You want to uncheck render after Doff. It's a little bit more expensive, but it will actually render your translucent materials better. So make sure that's off and you're good to go. So apply that. And then to set up this shader, it's really simple. If you right click and type in key, there's Chroma Keying, MF Chroma Keyer. There's a material function, ships with the engine that it is set up to do your Chroma Keying for you. And it's great. It works really well right out of the box. And so we need an input for this. And that input is going to be our media texture. So we'll drag that into here. And our RGB is going to pop into that input color. See, it's looking for a 3 values there, so RGB. And then we'll we could build out our UVs later on, if you want to get fancy with offsetting the center and UVs stretching and things like that. We can change that later. For now, let's pop this into emissive and pop this into opacity. And this is all we need to do. So save that. And then let's now create a material instance. So we'll create an instance of this and pop this open, and we'll take a look at all the options, right? So we'll take, first and foremost, key color. Why am I not seeing my footage? My media player may not be open. That's another gotcha. So you want your media player open and playing. You can just minimize it, but if your media player is not open, you will not see your media playing here. So I'm going to change this to a plane so I can actually grab, see what I'm doing here with the keyer. So it's tempting to just, this is blue already because the key's expecting an input and it's got a key color in here. So we're going to take our key and we're going to, it's tempting to grab the blue. That's wrong. You want to come down here to your actual green. So find a good point on your green in your icon here. That looks pretty good. And let me actually pause my media player because it's updating and it's driving me nuts. So we can pause. As long as it's up and it's projecting that video, you're going to see that video. This is one of the things I'm hoping they update with 5 is that not needing that media player open all the time, it becomes kind of a nuisance there. So that's our green screen. And we can tighten this up a little bit by pulling and turning on all these options here and playing with those for sure. A little bit of despill, we can crop. There's a lot of good options in here just by, right out of the box with that one little material function. So not a lot to have to create a material for green screen keying to be able to get you pretty good results if you know what you're doing. Again, I don't have a background in compositing, so yours results may vary. And we'll go with that for now. I don't want to spend too much time noodling this. So there's that. That's pretty good right out of the gate. And let's save that. And we'll save our shader as well. And we'll take our plane in here, which I can't seem to select. I've had trouble selecting just this single plane here. In this plane, we will make sure that we're using our new instance here. Boom, we got our guy, right? So I've got myself on a green screen card that I can put anywhere in the scene now. The green screen footage, and and this is a total cheat and a hack, but you can also, if your UVs aren't feeling quite right, you can just scale it and stretch it. But ideally you're taking your aspect ratio, if you're 16:9 or whatever your footage is, that's the aspect ratio, the pixel, you want your pixel density to be aligned. So you want your plane, whatever you're projecting onto, to be set up appropriately. So, like the scale isn't necessarily need to be 16:9, but the, like 16x by 9y, but like when you do the, whatever your scale ends up being, when you divide one by the other, you should get 1.77 or whatever your aspect ratio is, right? So just keep an eye on those values there. Make sure you're staying within that aspect ratio, and otherwise you might end up with distorted footage, which may be what you want. You may want footage to be a little distorted. At any rate, I'm going to take a moment just to say that there's another keyer in here that is a little bit more involved than this one. If you don't like just the simple Chroma Keyer, that's fine. We've got another option for you here. And I'm actually just going to, I've got this shader built already, so I'll just pull it up and show you it. It's this diffuse key one, or there, yeah. Nope, not that one, sorry. The Diff Keyer. Right, so this one, if we find this here, if we go into here and hit browse, you're going to find it in the engine content. So this one's a bit tricky to find, and it's kind of annoying because you can't just, it's Diff Color Keyer. If you type in Diff, you're going to not see it. It's not going to show up in the list here. So Diff Color Keyer or Road Single Pass, this one is like way advanced. If you want to do everything manual. So this is splitting everything out so you can parameterize everything on your own. That's a little bit too much for me. But this one here, Diff Color Keyer, has a nice condensed thing, and you can set up a bunch of more, break out your own options here, but it's hard to find, right? So if you turn on engine content, make sure the engine content's turned on. you're going to come to engine content and functions, functions chroma keying, right? And it's in here, diff color keyer. It's again, it's that's just one of those things. It's like it's tough to find, but once you get it, it's it's pretty cool. It's got a lot of good options there. So we'll take a look. You got your black and white clip, and we set up a little bit of math here to set. We parameterized our black and our white clip. You can invert your key. So there's a little bit of math that goes into that. We've got our red and blue weight. We're appending that. So it's looking for 2 channels here, but it's only got 1 slot. And so that you're like, that's annoying. How do I fit 2 channels into 1 slot? Well, you use the append node. And then you've got your alpha threshold, so that's your offset and your threshold and things. It allows you to give you, if you're used to pulling keys and stuff, all of this should make sense to you. But the only difference is instead of this color here handling the input for your media here, you need to this goes into the mask, and you just pull that mask. You're going to filter your channels for just the alpha channel, and that goes into opacity. Your RGB, your emissive color, actually goes into separate. It doesn't come from the keyer itself. It just goes through, and so I just created an emissive boost here, and you can multiply that. That is your emissive color. So that gives you a bit of a different option. Let's actually look at those options. So we'll go back to this and create a material instance. So it's just a bit more control. It's a different way of pulling keys. A little bit more control. Even though there's less options here, you can add, and that's the other thing about this is there's many more options you can add to this. Keep building on it, right? Make it your own. But anyways, we've got this simple one working, and it's got a lot of good options for us here, and it's doing a great job. So kudos. All right, so then we've got our stuff in there and ready to go, and I think it looks like it's time to get Ed in here, and let's do a little bit of tech scouting. Ed, how you feeling about that?
Yeah, good. Let's go for it.
Yeah. So hopefully me creating new items in here is not going to screw this up, because I did add a new level sequence and stuff. Ideally, we're both going to be working off of the exact same project. So you would have everything checked into Perforce, and I would push this out to Ed, and Ed would say, got it. He's got the latest version. He downloaded it, and he's opened it, and it's all great. We're going to try this with me having extra shit in here and see how it goes. May go poorly. We'll see. But there's not much to this other than, you both have the, and that's why I'm saying Perforce is great, because it's the easiest way to get information from one user to another without having to zip the whole thing up, put it on a drive, and him have to download it, all that good stuff. So if you can work with Perforce, please do so. People love it. Anyways, the other thing that you're going to need is Hamachi or some sort of VPN. You need a VPN. We're today, Ed and I are using Hamachi. It's free, easy to download. Just Google the word Hamachi, you'll find it, and it logged me in. And so what we've created a bit of a VPN. I've got mine launched here, and I can see Ed is already signed into the VPN on his end. And so Ed, do you have this project up as well?
I do, yeah.
Okay. Then the other thing that we need to do then is get our settings set. Oh, I closed my media player. Our settings need to be set properly for this. So, first and foremost, just like anything in the engine, you're going to want to turn on the plugin, multi-user. So you're going to find that multi-user editing. Of course, you want that on. Enable it. It'll have you restart. And then you'll see this browse button here, and that'll give you the session browser. The other thing you want to do now in your project settings is there's in multi-user, where is it? I think if you type in where is it? Where's the option to set your name and your visibility?
You can get to it also if you open up the user browser and click on the settings in the top right.
Oh, yes. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, so if you open this up and you pop into the settings, it is going to take you right to the multi-user editing under plugins. That's where it is. Under plugins, multi-user editing. You would like to turn the toolbar button on, set your name, add your avatar color, and then these should be set for you already, but you want desktop to desktop, VR to VR. Those are pretty straightforward. But yeah, you want to just set that up first and foremost. The other thing you want to do then, this is the important part here, this is how you talk to each other, is UDP messaging, right? So we're going to turn on enable transport, and your unicast endpoint. If you look here, if you come to your command prompt, type in cmd, and then you type in ipconfig, the first one you get should be your Hamachi or whatever your VPN is. You need to get the IPv4 address of that, right? And so this is going to be the host is going to enter in his or hers IPv4 address here, the unicast endpoint. And then you're going to add a :0 at the end of that. And then your multicast, I think I just left this at default, maybe, or no, it was, I can't remember where I got that one. I think it was the subnet, maybe. But yes, this one here, you just leave whatever port you want on the end of it. I think this is the default. I think this is the default, and it defaults to 6666, and that's fine. We're just going to leave that alone. So me being the host of this session, this is where I stop. Ed, on the other hand, or anyone else is going to join this session, they're going to do the same thing on their end using their IP address for the unicast endpoint. And then instead of leaving this blank like I'm going to do, they would need to add an array element under static endpoints and also put in, Ed, correct me if I'm wrong, your IP address again with the :0 at the end, right?
Yeah, that's right. Just a copy of that in the static endpoint array. Yeah.
Okay. And then from there, I would have, right now I don't have, I've already got this launched, but when I first open this up, you'll see an option here that says launch session, and that will set up this user server exe here, and just leave this in the background. And then you will have your session. You'll have to name it, and you're good to go. And I'm just going to right click and join. You can also double click to join it. Aha. So yes, I have made local changes. So please submit or revert these changes before attempting to connect. So Ed, I hate to do this to you. I'm going to submit my changes.
Okay.
And
maybe use Perforce.
And I'm going to make you use Perforce. I apologize for. So I'm going to check out my modified files first. Make sure that I grab everything that I've changed. So check out all of that. Save it. And then I will push it over to Ed, submit to source control. And I'm going to say did stuff. This is like a very big Perforce no-no. Everyone hates it when you do this. So just put a very general, vague description in the change list, and just like, no one knows what that means. Can you please be more descriptive? But I'm doing it. Ed saw me do all the things, so he knows what I changed. So Ed, that should be on its way to you. If you don't mind grabbing, you'll have to close yours, and I don't know if you want to swap the share to you or not, but grab the latest, relaunch the project, and then when you do,
so just gonna get the latest revision on that. It's gonna get a bunch of files.
Okay, I'm rejoining the session.
Very small down the bottom there.
It allowed me into the session.
Okay. All right. Seems like I got the latest from Perforce. So yeah, Perforce is just resolving both of our accounts, our workspaces, and it says 5 files updated, 10 files added. So now I can go back into the project. Open it up. Hope that we don't get 48,000 shaders compiling. Did that already, hopefully. All right. It's taken a second to do it.
Yes, of course.
It is loading up.
Great. Okay, so once we get Ed in here, I think what I'd like to do, Ed, just to get the art direction on the go here, is that we need to first and foremost bring this ship into our scene, right? I want to put this somewhere, maybe let's move one of these K-rails here and put the ship in the middle here. We'll position Scooter here to work on the left, my right, screen right side of the ship, and we'll position the green screen on the left side of the ship. And then we can, just do a couple of things. It doesn't have to be crazy. But we could go about, redesigning the set, changing the lighting and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And then we could commit all of those changes. I see you. I see an Ed.
All right.
Where are you? Where did Ed go? Oh, you know what? I have my G key. I have my game mode turned off. Yep. There we go. So now if I turn that on, I can see Ed. I don't know who, or am I still sharing my screen?
Yep. Yeah,
okay.
I see yours.
So I see you here.
So you
I see your laser, and if I didn't see Ed there and I wanted to go to Ed, there's this little button that says jump to the presence of that person. So now I'm like right in his face. There we go. Hi. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Cool. All right, so let's get to it. If you want to move the ship for me here, and I'm gonna make a space for you to pull the ship in. Pull that K-rail out of there. Move this one over.
So the drop ship from the background.
Yeah, let's pull him into the center here, right where this little B-bot is. I'm gonna move the B-bot over here.
Okay. Let's go grab that.
And you can see as I'm making changes, the change list is being compiled over here, and you can see my pink are all my changes. Ed has his yellow changes coming in over here. Moving actors, creating actors.
Okay, you can see that coming in.
Yeah, it looks good. Let's bring them down to where I can work on it, though.
Okay, so ship's coming down. Yeah, just so you will know, that's me doing that, not Scott. We're doing it through the internet from two very different bits of LA.
Feels very futuristic.
Yeah. How's that?
Let's go a little lower. Let's. He's landed.
Almost on the ground.
Yeah, there we go. Perfect.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool. So now our boy Scooter here. I'm gonna pop this level sequence open. Actually, the sequence is open. Why isn't Scooter moving? There we go. There he is. So we need to transform Scooter here. Let me actually, before we go too far, you can see we've got a lot of changes in here. I would like to persist these changes. So I'm going to come up to source control and persist all of these changes that we've made. And that will, add a little change list in there. And so that has now been pushed through to both of our perforces, right? So we've both got those changes, which is great. So all these changes we've made have now been checked in and they're committed. So just we don't lose them. So Scooter over here, he needs to move. We'll get, let's see where he's. Oh, I see the thing. Scooter's animation is not long enough. So let's open that up. I got a lot of animation in here for Scooter. Get out of the T-pose. Let's see. All right, we'll start Scooter off working on the ground. We'll give him a few hundred frames. So while he's on the ground here, we'll put him right next to our little ship. He's working on that lower part of the ship there. Then he gets up and he walks around the front of the ship. Oh, just misses it. Perfect. Perfect. Couldn't have designed it better. All right. And then we see our, again, I can never select this card. Even if I hit T to go through transparency, I start selecting these cones and stuff, whatever. We'll grab let me make this a little bit smaller here. And find my plane. I've got my plane. I'm going to go to this grid and open my media player so I can open my green screen footage there, and we will just minimize that. Okay, I am much larger than Scooter, so I'm going to move this. I'm going to scale myself down till I'm about the size of Scooter here. And I'm going to hit G so I can't see you anymore, so if you're moving around, let me know. Actually, I got an idea. What I'm going to do is where I walk off the screen here, Let me set this to looping. I will pause and I will go to the end. Right, I want to position myself where I am walking behind a column as I walk off the screen. So I will push this over here, rotate it around. Something like that. All right, so then the idea is I'm going to have a camera somewhat over here. So we just want this to be behind the column there. So that looks pretty good. Just play that through. Okay, and we will. Okay, so I think this is pretty good. Let me hide this because it's going to be in my way. I'm also going to set it to hidden in game. So I'll type in game. Down here in details, hidden in game. There we go, because I don't want that to pop in when I'm in VR mode. Okay, so I got Scooter here. I've got myself over here. I'm going to be telling Scooter to, hey, follow me, whatever. So this is, our little scene, right? Like, this is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this. We got our mocap in there. We got our green screen footage in there. It needs some color correction, but, we'll work on that in another live stream. So now we need to add a camera, right? So this is the part where I'm going to pop into VR. I'm going to pop into the Oculus, and we will do a bit of a tech scout inside and get a camera set and take a quick take. And I know I'm. How are we on time, Ed?
Getting past the hour, so yeah.
Okay.
We're getting there.
Okay, cool. Seems like we're okay then. Sweet. So I'm gonna I'm gonna call this camera A. And hopefully I'll be able to see this when I hop in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop into VR mode, and I'm going to grab a virtual camera rig. So I've got this camera rig here. I'm going to grab a virtual one inside VR, and they're going to line up and be, sort of hopefully one-to-one. We'll see how well that works. I've done it a few times, and it has had pretty good what's the word? Forget it. It's gone.
Results.
I've had pretty good success with using the virtual and the practical arm rig together, because it just gives you a little bit more steadiness. Because when you're, and we'll see it. Let's just get into it. We'll do it. So not much you need to set up for hopping into VR. We go to the project settings, and it's not actually project settings, is it? It is the preferences, editor preferences. There we go. And no, is it the project settings? Where is the VR settings? Plugins. We don't want the plugins. The thing I'm looking for is the, and it's because I'm looking for it is that I can't find it. It is we want to set our VR mode. There it is, VR mode. So in here, I would like to change these from the VR editor interactor to the virtual scout interactor. That's what I was looking for. So if you go into the editor preferences, VR mode, there's a lot of settings in here that you can change. Enable auto entry is probably off. You want to turn that on. You can change your hands. There's a lot of options in here for you to change. That's feel free to knock yourself out. But the interactor class, I want to do virtual scouting. So that's what I'm going to be using here. And you should be able to see all I see as I do this. It's a bit wonky because I'm on camera and whatever. The caveats to this, so I'm using Oculus. You can use Vive or whatever. If you are using Oculus, you want to have your Oculus open and AirLink turned on. So let me really quickly hop in here. See you guys in a second. I just need to make sure I've got AirLink enabled here. I do not want to power off. Confirm. Stationary, confirm. Sorry, reset the boundaries. So my AirLink is disconnected. Give me 1 sec. I'm going to launch that. And this is where things might get a little choppy for me because I'm streaming and sharing screens and doing all this stuff in the engine. And okay, so AirLink is up and running. So I actually need to close the project because I needed AirLink to be running before I launch the project. And that's just that's how VR mode works. You notice I don't have VR mode as an option on my top panel here. That's because the project was open before VR was enacted. So I'm going to close. I can save, Ed. This may screw up our session there. So
okay, I think we went through
bump
that
you
part
out
anyway.
And then I'm going to relaunch. And I'm going to relaunch from Perforce. So keeping this active, it should relaunch with the option to hop into VR on top. And I'm seeing the editor load in my headset, which is great news. Aha, so it launched directly into the editor. So I am in here. Let's grab my other remote. There, and my left controller battery is low. All right, so I'm going to try and move around as little as possible because it is quite choppy. I'm not sure how the playback is on your guys' end.
A little choppy.
All right, I'm going to trying to bring myself down a little bit. Oof, super choppy inside of here. All right, let's just get to it. There we go. Little low, little low. Let's bring myself up. My goodness. Okay, so I'm at about the height that I'd like to be at to take a record a take. Yeah, you get it. So I'm going to pull up my menu here, and I'm going to grab my handheld. And you can see I have a little handheld mount. And it's a little funky here because it is putting itself at the very tip, like the shoulder piece is on my controller. And that's a little weird because, well, I'm not putting my controller on my shoulder to take, to record the camera here. And sorry, it's very, very choppy. So I'm looking around for my camera and I don't see one. So let me see if I can create a new one here. Pop my menu back up. Probably should have done the wired link for this. Note for you guys, if you have the non-air link, the wired one, you'll want to grab that. So we can do cameras. Man, this is super rough. All right, we can do a viewfinder. We can see what it looks like at all the different lenses. Pull those lenses back just to give ourselves that. And you can plant a viewfinder by, bring it back. Doing left and right to find different lenses here. And then it's the trigger to plant a viewfinder there and leave it, and you can come back to it later. But then, yes, if you have, and I'm going to have to pop out of this, sorry guys, but if you have a camera in here, you can grab it using your handheld, your shoulder mount rig inside the VR, and then you can use that to kind of navigate, and you can you would then use Take Recorder. Let me pop out of here. It's very slow. Oh, I see what happened.
You need to bro me.
My GPU crashed. There we go. So let's relaunch. Am I still sharing? Am I still screen sharing?
Yeah. Yep.
Great. It says my GPU.
Yeah, there's questions coming in about the choppiness of it. I think you already answered that.
Yeah, I was trying to do that
if
over
it was
Airlink.
wired, or somebody's
Yeah.
asking about Vive versus Oculus, but yeah, it really is that you're going over the wireless.
Yep, I'm screen sharing. I'm going over the wireless. I would just tether it in and use it that way. But there was an option in there to. So like what I was trying to show is that when you place a camera and you're in the VR and you have that menu up there and you go to that handheld grabber to give your shoulder rig, you can navigate to a camera and just click the trigger button and it'll grab the camera, so you now have a camera. So then what you do, and this is something I'm hoping they're adding to the options when you're inside VR, is the ability to record directly from VR. But currently, that's not an option. So the workaround is to use Take Recorder. So we're going to go to Take Recorder there and just start recording, and then you basically will just hit the record button, pop into VR, grab your camera as fast as possible, and then start, finding your move, finding where it is. So like it's going to be a bit funky, but what I found that works pretty well is to put your controller, just if you have a camera mount like this, just put it in the front there and just kind of use that. It's good because holding it with your hand does prove to be pretty shaky. So putting it in the shoulder mount and kind of finding your camera motion, it's going to be a little bit smoother that way. So use Take Recorder, and then what'll happen is you'll get this really long take, which includes you setting up. You'll just go into the sequencer when it's done recording and chop those head frames off, and then you've got your camera move, right? And you can slide that around, line it up with your action as you intended it. You can also play sequences from in VR, so you can hop into VR, have your camera on the ready, and you can click play on your level sequence and have your character move around. So apologies for the choppy demo there. But yes, you want to try and, if you're doing it for real, make sure you're wired in and ready to go for that. Sweet. And so, yeah, that was pretty much it. I was just trying to show an array of different things. We got the motion capture retargeted over to our metahumans. We got the green screen footage there working in our material keyer and displayed. We've got our multi-user session where we're moving things around, and then we'll do another demo with a little bit better VR. But yeah, there's a lot of cool fun options that you can do just to get just your scene set up and start exploring your set and finding this is all before we even get to our green screen stage or our LED wall or whatever. There's a lot of cool tech and a lot of cool fun things that you can do inside the engine. Without too much effort, right? Who am I kidding? It's a lot of effort.
Awesome.
It's a lot of fun. And this is why, I'm reinvigorated as an artist. This stuff is all the stuff that I was hoping to be doing when I was going to school, and I'm doing it now. It's like, not to say that the past 15 years weren't worth anything. It was great. But yeah, this is good and cool, but also fun. It's like you can produce really cool content, but also have fun doing it. That's what I'm after. So, anyways, I have fun with this course, and we do this for 8 weeks just straight, and then we have a good time. So, Ed, I'm gonna stop.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop talking. I appreciate you guys being here. This has been a lot of fun, and let me know if there's any questions.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. I'm just going to go through a little spiel for a second, and then we'll do a little Q&A to kind of wrap this up. But yeah, just wanted to, as we mentioned at the beginning, do a shameless plug next. So what happens if you want to take this further? We are just going to turn off the screen share, focus on this one. So yeah, what do you do next if you want to take this stuff further? We obviously, as we said already, we run classes and we can go through what those are. But If you did want to take this further and you wanted to learn how to do this, you obviously need to get some hardware. Some of the things we've shown here: a decent PC, VR headset to be able to go in and do the VR scouting, something to do camera tracking with. Use Vive and some of the VR stuff to do that. Obviously, you need to have Unreal Engine. Download that's free, which is awesome. You need to learn the skills, and there's plenty of amazing places to learn that. Unreal Online Learning Center is amazing. There's lots of on social media and YouTube, and there's tons and tons of material out there. There's university programs and online schools. So the main challenges with some of those approaches would be the online resources. Obviously, you're sifting through tons and tons of information, which can get challenging. I've certainly been through that journey myself at the beginning of my VFX career, and spent 3 or 4 years trying to teach myself, and there wasn't really an internet back then, which is making me feel old, but it was true. It was books. So yeah, sifting through all the information is kind of the main challenge now. There's lots of it, but finding the right stuff that's current, that's appropriate for what you want to do. Universities are great, but they can be expensive, and they can take 3 or 4 years to go through. So one of the best options to get going quickly is to learn online from industry professionals. And ta-da, shameless plug, that's what we do. So if you want to come and learn with us, we'd be very happy to talk about that, and love to work with you. We are CG Pro. We're an Unreal Authorized Training Center, one of only a few in the US. We run Unreal classes for filmmakers, specifically targeted at filmmakers. We do teach other things as well, but we're mainly focused on Unreal for film. In our level 2, the curriculum, that's, as you just saw Scott's presentation, was about an hour's worth of material. Our curriculum for the level 2 is 50 plus hours of live instruction, where it goes a little slower and we get to stop and ask questions, and it's very interactive. It's not video based, it's all live instruction. So yeah, week 1 we go through set design and the practice of creating these sets and setting them up for this work. It's an advanced level of doing that. The teamwork stuff, the perforce, the setting up levels, the getting ready for virtual scouting and multi-user sessions. We go through animation, the retargeting stuff, much more depth. Retargeting and animation management, control rig, and getting metahumans going, being able to animate them in Unreal itself. Optimizing to the nth degree, and we can go through green screen specific stuff much deeper into how that was done today. The getting ready for LED wall work in addition to that. So obviously things like end display and clusters, switchboard, live link setup to be able to sync between machines, camera tracking, all the many flavors that there are, but focusing on the indie versions, so the ones that you can afford, iPad and Vive and Oculus, and those in particular. The shoot, culminating in the shoot. So this was kind of a little taste of what that is, but at the end of it, all of this stuff that we got together and got ready, you'd end up doing a shoot and following through what happens when you're on a shoot, and then lots of other advanced principles in addition to that, going through even if you're not shooting, some things that are very useful, like color work and OCIO, remote control, HDR, DMX. Some of those things are useful whether you're doing virtual production live on stage or not, even if you're just doing it yourself. So that's our level 2 curriculum. We do also have a level 1 if you haven't started in Unreal, or you want to get to that point that we jump off and go that fully down the rabbit hole with this advanced class. And with our level 1, this is really taking you from scratch or intermediate up to the point where you could really go much deeper and go and join a real production. But week 1, we're going through A to Z, an outline of Unreal, teaching you the basics, going through the blocking of your environment, lights, cameras, action, all of the basics of doing that. So at the end of week 1, you've got to rough your whole project. Then we go deeper into project structures and workflows, how to be organized and keep your stuff together. Going through in week 3, a deep dive into environments. Week 4, going through lighting and materials in more depth. We're going through timeline and sequencer, how to make things move and how to make characters work, how cameras work, how filmmaking works in Unreal, going into virtual camera. And these are all the sort of basic to intermediate versions. In the advanced class, we're going through the advanced version of all of these, plus obviously a lot more as I just went through. Week 7, some optimization and rendering so that you can actually get imagery out the other end. And week 8, we go through project wrap up. So there's a really quick run through our level 1 if you're interested in that as well. As I said, our level 2 is what we've been mostly exploring tonight. If you're interested in our level 2, you're interested in joining us, we do have one coming up on January 29th. It's 8 weeks long. We have 2 times a week where we go live and do teaching, and then once a week is teaching, once a week is office hours. You can come in and share challenges and projects and ask questions in addition to the teaching session where you can do that as well. Lead instructor is our Scott Rosekrantz here. He, as already mentioned, VP supervisor and head of the real-time department at Zoic Studios, who do amazing work. I'm co-instructor for this one as well. I'm Ed Dawson-Taylor, Unreal authorized instructor. I've been in visual effects for 15 years and worked on some cool stuff like The Lion King and Jungle Book in virtual production. And yeah, in addition to that, there's some bonus video content. All the stuff is taught live, but we do have some bonus video material going through live action shoots. Some of the stages that we've gone on, we continue to go on. So if you are here in LA, you get to come and visit a stage, pending obviously the world ending or everybody catching COVID. But where possible, we do take people onto stages and do stage visits. We have a project for download. We have guests coming in, so they're all the people that are at the top of their game in virtual production, talking about the subject that we all love, which is virtual production. We have after support, and the cost of that class is $2,997. The after support, which I just mentioned, is we have ways to keep this going with an alumni group that you can continue to be a part of after the class. We have placement assistance for anyone looking for opportunities in the industry. We've got lots of relationships with industry and recruiters, and we do our best to help you there. The level 1 is basically the same. I'm the lead instructor for that one, and Jackie Cooper is the assistant instructor. We also have TAs for both of these, so additional support. That one also has guests, project download, aftercare, and the cost of that one is the same, $2,997. And we have a special today. I think some links have been shared already in the chat. The special we're offering is for 10% off. That brings the level 1 down to $2,697. So a few $100 off the course, $300 off the course. Same for our level 2. So you can do both for $5,394, which is usually $6,000. So it's a good discount. We don't ever offer discounts. It's not the first time we've done it. We very rarely do it. So it's a great opportunity to jump in for that price. And I believe that is running until the end of tomorrow. We just extended it to run until the end of tomorrow. So if you want to sign up, we have almost sold out for our level 1. We actually did sell out for January, so we added another class for Jan on January 29th. We also have March starts for our level 2 as well. So if you wanted to do level 1 then level 2, they run nicely one into another. So yeah, if you're interested, there are going to be some links sent to you guys. Also probably have already been dropped into the chat. And that is my shameless plug over. So come and work with us. It's a super fun thing to do. We all put our hearts and souls into this. We're professionals. We're working in the industry. All the instructors are, and we love to do it, and we love to teach. So this is one of our favorite things to do.
Yeah, I'll say from my perspective, I used to teach at Noman, lovely school, loved every minute of it, and working a full-time job is always difficult to do teaching, but I love doing it, and I really enjoy doing it, and I've really enjoyed every minute of working with Jackie and Ed here. This has been I'm looking forward to doing some really great things. There are a lot of very cool people, and this has been, I think, being both at Noman and here, the level of engagement I think here is just unmatched. Everyone is, all the students. I struggle to call them students because they're not. They're peers, they're compatriots, they're people I look forward to working with and working on projects with. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's a very cool experience from my perspective. So please come join us.
Amazing. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate the kind words, and I feel the same way. I love doing this too. It's not. It's very, very genuinely a great thing to do, and such an exciting time in our industry, as you already said. This has really woken people's careers up. Some people who had started to think about other things, if like, all right, no, we're back again. It's a really incredible thing what real time has done for the industry and for the people in the industry. And I think there's so much opportunity in it right now. There's I looked at a list of opportunities from a recruiter today, and it was hundreds in Unreal. It's a really, really sought after skill. There's nobody out there with the skills. So if you want, this is not just trying to sell you a class. No, genuinely.
I'm right there. I'm right there with them. I'm going to be recruiting you actively through this course. So
that's true. Zoic are hiring always. So just throwing that out there. But yeah. Thank you all for joining us. I don't know if we had any other questions that people wanted to ask coming in from the gallery, but if not, then I think we can call it a wrap. We will be putting this up on the YouTube channel. It should be up on Twitch immediately. I apologized for not clicking HD at the beginning of this, but hopefully the recording will be in HD. That's my bad, but using a new streaming platform today, so I'm surprised it went as well as it did, to be honest. Thought the demo was great. Scott, thank you very much for running through that.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome. All right. Anything else from the producers?
Just one question that I didn't
Yeah.
answer earlier. It was
Sure. I think we have one question.
I do see a question in the chat just now about buying mocap gear and should you wait for CES. I definitely would say stick with what works, and anything coming out of CES maybe too next level, too cutting edge or not fully tested. So I would say, anything coming, I wouldn't wait. I would say it's a good time to buy it. Xsens, StretchSens, Faceware, all of it very good. That's one other thing that I failed to demo tonight or mention that we do talk about is Faceware Retargeting. We cover that, and I believe we have some educational licenses for it as well. So yeah, StretchSens, I've demoed those gloves. They're very good gloves. They work great with Xsens. If you're getting the latest version of Xsens, they work natively. All of that, you can tie it all together. I can show you how to do all of that. It works very well. And so I wouldn't sit and wait for new tech to come out. I mean, I don't think that's going to change the prices of anything else. And these are tried and true hardwares. And so I would say, stick with what their industry standards really. So, I would stick with those. You can, if you want to save a couple bucks, the Manus gloves work pretty well as well. StretchSens is a little bit better in terms of fidelity, but it's a bit higher, on the prices. So, but yeah, that was, if that's the only question I saw. Jackie, did you see another one? Oh, I'm on a 3080. I just have I got very lucky with the Founders Edition 3080 right when the shutdown first happened in 2020, and they first came out and the hype was just getting going. So, but yeah, it was enough to it does the job.
I love everyone's like, how did you get your graphics card stories?
Yeah.
It's like, you have a 3080, a 3090? Who did you have to mug to get that? What cargo ship did you intercept? There's another question that came in. Can others join VR scouting without Unreal Engine installed, say on an iPad or an iPhone or some other device without Unreal Engine being installed?
Thank you. As we showed it tonight, no. But what there is they control remote control access. So we could set up a website and send you the link to that website. That is just an interface for you to affect the scene, change the lights, change move things around, or anything that we've exposed through that control panel. And that's what you see all the time on set, where they're walking around with iPad, changing lights and things like that. It's not necessarily in the scene, but it's connected to the scene via the website. So it's you can affect the scene throughout an iPad without being necessarily in the scene, if that makes sense.
And you can also, like, as an example from the Lion King experience, being on stage with that for a year, there was tons of different ways to explore the scene. There was actually in Unity, but there was 4 people. They built a multiplayer game to facilitate it. Somebody asked as well how many people can be in session sync, and I don't know that there's a limit. There's probably like a point at which the system can't keep up, but at that point with Lion King, we only had 4 VR users that could be in at the same time because it was built from scratch on that stage. But now I think it's possible for a lot more people to be in. But you can interact in VR, you can interact with virtual cameras without being in VR, without having Unreal Engine installed. You just be holding a piece of hardware and just be an operator in the environment. That thing doesn't have Unreal installed on it, but you're still participating.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's always screens and video village type arrangements which are virtualized. Some of the video village might be even actually virtual in the engine, but you can also have multiple screens dotted around that are showing through cameras, showing from vantage points, showing various different views of the world that you're looking at. So people can use the film set in a traditional kind of way, even if everything is, like on Lion King, purely virtual. There was no live action involved at all, but people were able to participate. The whole stage could participate in that way. They weren't controlling things necessarily, but some people were puppeting animals or things on sticks, and cameras with traditional camera equipment and Vive pucks on top. There's a lot of Vive in that movie, actually. You wouldn't think it. You would have thought it was more Vicon or something at the top end of the price list. But yeah, it's really the cool thing I think about this is now that Epic have really got behind it and they're really showing they've really taken on the development and given it away, basically, that it's just really opened it up to the entire world. I don't think it would have been possible without a company like that doing that. So it's an amazing time. There's so much opportunity in it, I think, now to be able to jump in and bypass years of what it used to take to get into the industry. I think there's a lot more opportunity at the moment. You still need skill. You still need all of the same types of skill that you always needed, but because of the demand at the moment, I think it's a pretty special moment. Tangent from talking about VR, but I'm prone to that. Anyway, I think we got all the questions answered mostly through the chat, but those couple came up. So anyway,
everybody needs us. We're here.
Yeah, we're here. If you want to reach out to us, we're very findable through the internet personally, and then find the CG Pro School, reach out to us through the website if you're interested in the class. But yeah, join Become CG Pro, the Facebook group, and you can also come and hang out in there and ask questions. Plenty of ways to keep in touch. But yeah, thank you all very much for joining us. We appreciate. There's been quite a lot of you watching tonight, and really appreciate all of your time.
Yes.
I've really enjoyed it. And Scott, thank you again. And thanks to the guys behind the scenes for helping us out. Jackie and Stacy and Jeremy and anyone else I've forgotten. Thank you all. All right.
Cool.
That's a wrap.
Cheers,
Thanks,
everybody.